Hi everyone, thanks for being with me. One of the issues which has plagued the MAGA movement for years, I think, has been their delving into conspiracy theories, particularly in relation to the Epstein Files. Now, they supported Donald Trump because they believed he was the one who was going to be able to reveal to us all who sits on those files, who are those men who were involved in abusing young girls. Now, I've always suspected that to some extent Donald Trump probably sits on that list. And yet, regardless of all of that, he has initially wanted to support the release of those files because he believed at the time that this was going to ingratiate himself somewhat to the MAGA movement, which he did. Now, how disappointed are they, though, now that they find out that those files are not going to be released? In fact, they're told that they don't even exist. What concerns me primarily about all of this is that if there were hundreds and hundreds of young people abused as a result of Epstein's behaviour and the flying of important people to his island for a sexual frolic, then I suggest that there are hundreds and hundreds of young people, now adults, who know of the experiences they had with those abusive men, and that there are videos of those men abusing those young girls, which Epstein has used to bribe those perpetrators. So what does all of this mean to us, and why should we care? Well, firstly, because we should care about child abuse. That's something I've rallied against for years, obviously, and most people, I would suspect, are concerned about the abuse of children. Also, in this particular case, it is the abuse of children that has been used by Epstein to accrue his fortune, I would suggest. Now, it has also meant that there are many, many people. I would imagine they are people in high-profile positions, if not current members of the Donald Trump administration, if not Donald Trump himself, if not past politicians, certainly current politicians. If not politicians, then I'm sure that there are probably some judges who have been involved in this behaviour as well. The list is probably deep. The list is compromising with many, many important people in the United States, including businessmen. So who is on this list? Who could be named? And why is it being kept such a secret? Well, the answer is simple. So many people would be compromised if their names were released on that list. The thing that disturbs me most is that of all these hundreds of girls who were trafficked by Epstein, so many of them have had to live with the trauma, all of them in fact, have had to live with the trauma of this kind of abuse. On top of that, they've also not only had to live with the trauma of the abuse, they've had to live with the notion that they can't reveal what happened because the consequences of doing so, the public shame that would be associated with all of that would be too great because the people that they know abused them are significant individuals, are powerful individuals, far more powerful than they are, and that the remainder of their lives would be hell because of the releasing of those names and the people that were their abusers. It is shameful to think that so many young girls were abused by this horrible man and the people who colluded with him, the perpetrators also of this abuse, of which many are prominent individuals. Now, at the moment, MAGA's broken apart because many of them voted for Trump thinking that he would be able to release the names because they believe in conspiracy theories to start with, and this started out, I guess, as a conspiracy theory. But the truth about some conspiracy theories is that there often is an element of truth amongst them. But many of the conspiracy theories that the MAGA movement have held have been about pedophile. Think of Pizzagate and what a failure that was. But the target often of the MAGA movement has been politicians who involve in horrific, horrible behaviours such as pedophilia. So the question remains, how many people know who abused them and where are the videos in relation to this? Because it is understood that Epstein kept thousands and thousands of hours of tapes of people being abused, of young girls being abused by prominent men. Those tapes he would have used in order to blackmail those people. So, do those tapes exist? Are there files? Are there names? Yes, there probably are. And I just want to play for you to remind you of what Pam Bondi said about this some time ago.
We still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement.
So the reality is that she herself admitted that there are hundreds of victims. So that's not in dispute. There are thousands of hours of tapes. That's not in dispute. You know, I have worked with police. I've spoken to police, not necessarily worked with them, but I've spoken to police about their investigations into child abuse. When they've caught somebody that's abusing children, they've got tapes or videos of them. Now, I know that their priority is always to not only catch the perpetrator, but also to find out who has been abused so that services could be provided for them. I would suggest that there is an argument that those people who were abused and who have not had their situation or their story told could seek some form of compensation from the government for their lack of interest in this particular subject and for the fact that they've allowed this abuse under Epstein to occur for decades. And that there is a case they could make that the government failed in protecting them. So where does all of this go? Well, it's hard to know. But what I can assure you is that as MAGA disintegrates, as Pam Bondi and others, and Patel and Borgiano, as those people start to realise that they cannot solve or cannot push back against this flooding tide, they will then eventually decide that they have to do something. The problem they will have is that if Donald Trump's in the centre of all of this, then they will be stopped at every turn. Something has to give at some particular point, and I can't wait to find out when that will be. Let me know what you think about all of that. Remember to subscribe to my channel, to ring the bell for further notifications. Let me know what you think about the Epstein Files. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.